Right, hello. Welcome back to what is, without a shadow of a doubt, the most important list on the internet. Part 5. Can you believe it? We've waded through a sea of automotive mediocrity and brilliance, and we're still not done with the naughties. Some people will tell you the 2000s were a decade of beige crossover-y nonsense and, cripplingly dull eco-boxes, and they're not entirely wrong. But they're also missing the point, spectacularly, because while the world was obsessing over fuel economy and fitting 7 children into a car the size of a small bungalow, some engineers, some magnificent unhinged geniuses, were still making proper cars. Cars with passion. Cars with purpose. Cars that made you feel something other than the crushing despair of a Tuesday morning commute. We're talking about cars that were so focused, so single-minded in their mission, that they were completely brilliant and utterly useless at the same time. Cars built for the sheer, unadulterated joy of driving. And also, because this is a comprehensive list, we'll look at some cars that were, well, significant. Cars that defined a nation's motoring landscape, even if they couldn't outrun a determined badger. So settle in, grab a biscuit, and prepare to either nod in vigorous agreement or shout at your screen in a fit of apoplectic rage. Because tonight, we're diving back into the glorious, schizophrenic world of the 2000s, from stripped-out British track weapons to rugged workhorses from the other side of the world, and yes, even a Dodge Viper. Because you can't talk about the 2000s without mentioning a car with an engine so large it has its own gravitational pull. This is it, the final countdown. Let's begin. The Lotus Exige Series 2, it was an Elise that had been to the gym. Then came the 340R. No doors, no roof, no sense, just pure unhinged automotive lunacy. The Saab 93X, a rare all-wheel drive estate for people who found Volvos too, obvious. The Saab 93 Vector, it had a turbo and fighter jet DNA, or so they claimed. The Mahindra Scorpio Getaway, in India this wasn't a lifestyle choice, it was just life. And the Mahindra Major, basically a World War II Jeep that simply refused to believe the war was over. The Smart 44, an attempt to make a smart car practical, which is like making celery exciting. But the Smart Roadster, this was brilliant, a tiny rear-engine sports car for the city. The Troller T4, Brazil's answer to the Jeep Wrangler, and it was properly tough, unstoppable. Then they made a pickup, the Pantanal, a strange, rugged, and uniquely Brazilian creation. The Chevy Tavera. In Indonesia, this was the default setting for moving an entire family. The Chevy Love, a small pickup that was, and still is, absolutely everywhere down there. Ah, the Isuzu Panther. This is the Tavera's arch nemesis, if you will. A diesel workhorse, you know, that seems like it could outlive the planet itself. Now let's talk about the Isuzu Mu7. Over in Thailand, this was the king of the road. A huge, dependable SUV that's just, well, perfect for any adventure. And then there's the Renault Megane GT line. It sure looks sporty, but really, it was for those who just wanted a bit of style in their ride. But the Clio RS, this was the real deal. A hot hatch that was properly quick. The Nissan Sentra SER Spec V, a deeply uncool looking car with a surprisingly brilliant engine. The Nissan La Festa, a deeply Japanese minivan with a name that sounds like a disappointing party. Alright, so this is the Seat Leon Cooper R. It's kind of like a Golf GTI, but, you know, for people who wanted a little more paella in their life. Next up, the Seat Toledo MK3. It had a massive boot, but honestly, it kind of looked like a surprise cockroach. And then there's the Honda Accord Eurowagon. This was a really handsome, brilliant estate car that, well, America foolishly just didn't get. So let's talk about the Honda Kappa. It's this tiny, boxy, and honestly super practical car that's just perfect for the tight streets over in Japan. The Dodge Viper SRT 10 cylinders, 8 liters, and honestly the subtlety of a house brick. The Viper ACR, they took the standard car and added a wing you could host a dinner party on. The Ford Ka. In Latin America, this wasn't the cutesy thing from Europe, it was proper transport. And there we have it. 100 cars, 100 snapshots from a decade that was honestly more interesting than you remember. We've seen everything from the sublime lunacy of a roofless Lotus, to the rugged dependability of an Indonesian Isuzu. We've celebrated cars that were designed to win races and cars that were designed simply to get a family to the market and back, day after day without fail. It proves a point, really, that a cool car isn't always the fastest or the most expensive. Sometimes it's the one that's perfectly suited to its job, no matter how mundane that job might be. Of course, you'll disagree with half the list. You'll be screaming that I missed the Zonda F or the Carrera GT, or your uncle's pristine Rover 75. And you're right to do so. That's the beauty of it. Cars are personal, they're emotional. This wasn't a definitive, scientifically proven list. It was an argument set to music and pretty pictures. It's a celebration of variety, of engineering genius, and sometimes of magnificent, glorious failure. The 2000s gave us all of that, in spades. So what have we learned? We've learned that for every soul-crushing Prius, there was a fire-breathing Viper. For every bland crossover, there was a razor-sharp Clio RS. The car was not dead, it was just diversifying. Thank you for watching, for arguing, and for sharing this ridiculous journey with me. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to see what sort of trouble the 2010s got up to. And on that bombshell, it's time to end. Goodbye.